Today, we're going to chat about when Florida is going to become the state that is going to be inhabitable. Why would I say something like that? So, Florida has been in the news again lately, and I used to live there, and now and I try to, buy a vacation house or something down there, but now I'm reconsidering it. And you guys let me know if this is a smart decision or not. So, one thing is that everything has a price to it, right? Everything, if you move, you get pros and cons. And Florida has a bunch of hurricanes, right? And so now, is it still smart in 2024 to move to Florida? And I'm really interested in seeing you guys' opinion. I wouldn't move there. I just moved there for 2 months during January and February because I try to escape the 60s and 50s in Las Vegas. And I love it here too much in Vegas, so I would not want to be here. I don't want to leave my friend circles and my groups that I have, my support groups and all that before we'll go into Florida for, permanently. So that would not be a case. I just move it for 1 or 2 months. So now let's jump into a snippet of videos that I got lined up to see what I'm talking about.
We're just 9 days away, by the way, from the official start of the hurricane season, and AccuWeather is anticipating this to be an extremely busy hurricane season. Just take a look at the forecasts here. We're predicting big number here of named storms. That means tropical storms or hurricanes, 20 to 25, well above the historical average. Now, within that 20 to 25, we're looking at 8 to 12 hurricanes and 4 to 6 direct impacts from these named storms. Also, look at the major hurricanes, 4 to 7. What's a major hurricane? That's Category 3, maximum sustained winds of at least 111 miles per hour, and we're looking at 4 to 7 of those major hurricanes above the historical average. The other concern we have is that we are seeing conditions right now that are telling us that we could be looking at these storms rapidly intensifying. What does that mean? That means a strengthening of a 35 mile per hour in winds or more in less than 24 hours. Here's why. Low wind shears, light winds in the upper part of the atmosphere, conducive to development, and also abundant moisture. And here's the other thing we're worried about. Very warm water in the Atlantic basin. In fact, right now, we're looking at this ribbon of warm water from the tropical Atlantic all the way into the Gulf of Mexico. This is what we call the MDR. This is the location where we see most of the development in the Atlantic basin. And not only is the water warm, but this graph showing you that the depth of the warm water is very, very high. That's going to allow these storms to rapidly intensify. And of course, we also have the La Nina, which means less wind shear in the Atlantic basin, more activity, and the possibility of rapid intensification.
Okay, so now you saw that there is the most severe hurricane weather forecast ever, right? So, what does that mean? Well, let's look at some numbers. I got some numbers prepared for you guys, and we're going to check them out. So, first of all, in 2017, there was a storm in Florida. Let's see which one. Which storm hit in 2017 Florida? That was Irma. And so Irma did $50 billion in damages in 17. So that is not all. So Ian was in September 2023, right? So it did. So the first storm in 17 did $50 billion in damages. The second storm hit did $112 billion in damages. So now I'm thinking, how long can Florida keep this up? How long can people keep living there without being that much disrupted in their lives till it's like, it's not worth it? And I got an article right here that says in 2022, 500,000 people left Florida. And I get that because it's inconvenience. These storms are getting worse, as you saw. And it just takes one more storm to kind of break the camel's back, right? If it's going to hit Miami or, Orlando and all these other places where there's a huge population, or God forbid it hit Cape Coral again, then there's going to be even more damage done, right? So when you're looking at that, is it financially smart to move there, live out your retirement? Because if there's another storm, your insurance is going to go haywire, right? They're not going to insure anything. And maybe the state needs to come in and write these policies for people so they can still live there. But then that means higher taxes, right? So the only way the state can actually insure all these homes on coastal cities and in rural area or in the center of Florida is going to be either have subsidized health or subsidized insurance, or have a state-backed one, right? And when you have a state-backed one, that means that your beloved taxes need to go up. So what does Florida do? They might have to start making a state income tax, right? Because all these places, where they're going to get the money from? It can't be that you tax tourists in Disney and snowbirds till the maximum, because at one point they're not going to come. And they're going to say, oh, there's a Disneyland somewhere else. We're going to build one in another state and we're just going to go there. Yeah, you still have Miami, these big metros. You still have these great, great beaches. But you can have great beaches in Texas and other places of the country. So then you're going to be like, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go? And how are you going to spend your money, right? So when you're going to leave, you're going to be like, I'm going to go to Georgia. I'm going to go to North Carolina. These are beautiful states that offer something, comparable, right? They don't have the great, in the wintertime, don't have the greatest weather, right? They might get a little colder. If you're from one of these states, let me know. But you don't have to worry about these big hurricanes and floodings that happen. And you might be able to retire down there. Because in Florida, now it's looking like it, you can probably not retire. And if you retired down there, you probably left. And it's just a matter of time, according to, what I've been reading, that it's just not going to be feasible for people to live down there anymore. Because when you have all these places where there's going to be flood damage, flood insurance you have higher property taxes and all that, and people are leaving the state, who's going to want to move down there? And the one thing that I'm thinking about is, when you're retired and you want to move down to Florida, you don't want to root your life up and then be constantly fearful of having these storms come around. And when you have these hurricanes coming, then you got to be thinking, is this what I want to do in retirement? Is that I want to buy an RV or fly out every time there's a storm coming and make sure that it's all boarded up? And is that the hassle that you want to do in your retirement life, right? Because most of these people that, went down there are probably retirees. And so there's so many other beautiful states in the United States that you can move to compared to Florida. And now you're looking at it like, okay, 500,000 people left. That's tax revenue that, that left, right? Those are, they were spending money into the economy. They were, helping, your cashiers, your barista, your restaurant worker, your tourism, that helped, service the tourist industry. Or they were just, spending money as a retired person. They were just, going out for, the early dinners, and maybe they were going boating and all that. And now they're like, I'm out. So what do you do? What do you do? And I'm looking at it like, what should I do? Should I actually consider buying one? Because I could buy one. I could buy a house down there in Fort Myers, Cape Coral, as my family had before. But it is almost not worth it, because if there's one storm and they're going to trick you on insurance, right? So insurance is like, you get the first year of insurance, and then they're going to drop you. And property taxes, the second year is going to be like 1.5% compared to where I'm at right now for like 0.5%. So a $400,000 house is immensely expensive to own down there. And I wouldn't be a resident, so I couldn't, lock in my cheaper property taxes because I'm not a full timer. So I would be getting kind of screwed on the deal, and doing an Airbnb might be the way to go for me, because I just rent an Airbnb for 2 months. I'm out. I might pay $10,000 for 2 months, right? Real nice one. And then after that, I'm out. I'm out. And if it floods, the roof flies off, there are storms, I don't need to worry about it. I don't need to have a car down there that might get flooded. I don't need to get out insurance, because with American Express, you get car rental protection, right? So you can get that up to 90 days. So I got it for 60 days. I don't need the fastest car. And yeah, it's kinda kinda the way to go. Or I could even have my convertible shipped down there, depending on what that will cost. I haven't looked into that yet, but that might be an option for me to just drive my convertible down there or have it put on a semi truck, haul it down there, and then at the end of the trip, um, come pick it up and I fly back and have my car down there. So I don't need to rent one. But yeah, these are the factors that I think at one point Florida's just going to be too unsustainable and people will leave. People are going to give it up. People are going to give up their houses. People are going to say I'm done, move to another state. And there's so many gorgeous other places in the US that are less prone to disasters, right? When I look at Las Vegas, there's not many disasters. There's a little bit of wind, there's flash flooding, but the city was working on it all the time to kind of mitigate that all that risk, so you don't have to worry about it being flooded anymore. And the weather's getting crazier here too. It's getting hotter, and maybe in 10 years I don't need to go down to Florida anymore because it's just going to be nice 70 or 80 year round with global climate change and the seawater's warming up and all that. And I don't even think that global warming is, that these global warming deniers isn't, it's like, oh, it's because of CO2. It doesn't really matter anymore what, um, what you call it. It's just a fact that there's more severe storms, and you might call it something else. Global warming might be the wrong word, but the evidence, the severity of it, kind of shows a trend towards more disasters, whatever you want to call it. If you don't want to call it global warming, fine. You can call it whatever you want. But you just got to be really careful when you move a lot of money into a state that might not be sustainable in the next 5 to 10 years. But on the other hand, Florida might be fine and not get hit with another hurricane for the next 20 years. But according to statistics and according to forecasts, that might not be the case. So you guys let me know what you think, because I still think that Florida is going to be uninhabitable at one point. It just needs that one big gigantic storm that's just going to go straight up the Florida coast and just wipe out St. Augustine, Daytona, Miami, Fort Lauderdale. And when that happens, God bless that never happens. But then there's gonna be huge trouble with insurance and condo prices. And if other condos are gonna fall again, as they shown, or houses, no, actually more condos. So if condos fall, right, as they did, because of mismanagement of funds and all that, then there's going to be even more dilemma with the condo prices falling and more trouble with actually making higher HOA fees, and then people need to move out again. So however you look at it, the cost is not going to come down and it's going to keep going up. And I have no solution for it yet to figure out how you can keep the cost down besides just renting it or doing something else. So you guys let me know what you think, because I'm kind of I kind of have no good ideas how it can be